Before we start today's video, I'm blessing you guys with 2 more stickers which you can find on my brand new website, buylowdad.com. We have a Intech the World sticker, and we also have a Sock Beats Doc sticker, because of course it does. I mean, look at it. If you guys want this car finished in a timely manner, please go check out these new stickers and help support the builds. First glance, these are a pretty random collection of cars to have in one spot, but there is a good reason for that. Obviously, ADM cars have become very popular over the last 5 or so years to turn into project cars. These have always been well known to become project cars, like even manufacturers nowadays with the new Supra. They anticipate people to modify them, so it's pretty common for Japanese cars to be project cars. We're going to talk with a $10,000 budget. Obviously, this is not a $10,000 car, but I don't have a $10,000 Japanese car to film with. So we're gonna assume that this is $10,000. So what can you buy for $10,000? When we're talking about Aussie cars, there are plenty of AUs, E-Series, VY, VT, VZ Commodores you can buy for $10,000. This, if it was really nice, would be about $10,000 to $15,000. When we're talking about $10,000 Japanese cars, you've got your Crusaders, you've got your Lexus IS200s. You can find some really clapped Altezas. You can find R31s for that price as well. So there's still quite a few Japanese cars left that are cheap, but unfortunately most of them are quite unattainable. I know that if I was buying this car now, I would not be able to afford it. Just for context, I bought this car 3.5 years ago for $20,000. And with that $10,000 budget in mind, yes, you can buy a Japanese car for 10 grand, but it'll most likely be stock and it will most likely be clapped as well. Whereas, talking about a Falcon or a Commodore, you can pick up a cheap AU or even just a standard E-Series, not XR6 or anything fancy like that, for about $3,000 to $4,000, and then you can spend that existing budget on manual swapping it, putting coilovers in it, exhaust, whatever you want. But there is much more wiggle room when it comes to Aussie cars as compared to their Japanese counterparts. And to demonstrate how cost-effective ADM cars are, we're going to use my good friend Peter here as an example with how his AUs have turned out.
I have a blue AU 75th anniversary Futura, and it's been manual swapped, which cost me $1,500. And I used pretty much brand new everything. It's been lowered on coilovers, which costed me $1,000, and an exhaust for the car costed $200. Now I've done other mods like spool the diff and maintenance here and there, but total the car owes me about $5,000.
You can use that $5,000 extra to put a cage in it, put a lock kit in it, anything else you want to do, maybe put a livery on it. Next, we're going to talk about aftermarket support, because when you're buying a project car, obviously you're buying it with the intention of modifying it and you want to know how much it costs. So the biggest difference between ADM and JDM cars is there's a thing called JDM tax. So manufacturers of aftermarket parts realize that the market is really inflated for them, and basically they can charge whatever they want for them. They can charge whatever they want for all these parts and stuff like that. And there is a bit of a toxic culture surrounding it, and I know I'm going to get a bit of backlash. I've owned this car long enough to understand that parts are way more expensive, even just like an oil filter, for example. An oil filter for one of these is much more expensive than a Z9 Ryko, which you'll find at Repco for one of these. Now, in saying that, yes, parts are more expensive for these cars. There is still quite a lot of panels and stuff that you can still buy for these cars, whether it's aftermarket or you go to one of these monopoly wreckers that'll charge you an arm and a leg. They are still available. Even if you're buying a $10,000 car like an R31 or an IS200 or something, they're still going to be more expensive than a Falcon or a Commodore because there is simply less of them made. There are more of these cars driving around here than imported cars because they were literally made here. Okay, the next thing I'm going to talk about are the power plants of these cars. So obviously, we're going to rule out the SR20 because these things are just way too expensive. They're shit engines, don't buy them. But because we're talking about $10,000 cars, and we have a Nissan here, we're going to talk about the RB30 and the Intech because they are very comparable. They're both straight sixes, both single overhead cams, and they're found in both cheap $10,000 R31s and cheap $10,000 Falcons. Now, I've never owned an R31, but I have a mate that's owned about 17 of them, and he has had endless problems with RB30s. They are good engines, however, they still do have their problems. They're an RB, they breathe, they're internally pretty strong, but they could be better, and that's why the Intech overall is a better engine. I've owned 2 cars with SOX and Intex. I've owned an AU, which now has donated this engine to this car, and obviously the engine that came in this car. I also have a lot of friends with AUs that are specifically drift cars, and they get absolutely beaten on. Yeah, exactly. Peter holding the camera. So we're gonna use this car as an example. The SOC that was in it, I was going to turbo, and I drove around that car for probably 4 or 5 months before I pulled it off the road. I abused the absolute shit out of it. It was leaking everywhere, it was burning oil, it was on its last legs. And even though it was on its last legs, it still ran. It had low compression in every single cylinder, all the bores were ovaled, it had scratches in the bores, it still gapped RB30s. And when you're on a budget, you want to make sure that the power plant of the car that you've chosen doesn't give you problems. What can I say? It's been proven countless times how good these motors are. Even excluding these, if we're talking about Commodores, the Ecotechs and the Buicks, they get absolutely abused. I've seen how many times they've been sat on limiter and they just do not die. If we're talking about pricier RB30s, you will struggle to find an A6 block RB30 for less than $1,000. A8's completely out of the question. The factory turbo motors, probably like 2 or 3 grand. These things, I recently purchased an Intech for $150. $150. That's 10% of the price of an RB30. And when you're talking about budget-friendly cars, you want bang for buck. These things are a no-brainer. Obviously, if you're buying a car, you want to drive it. If you care about how they feel, I would honestly go with ADM cars. They are designed for Australian roads. If we're going to use the R31 as an example again, I've driven a couple of R31s. I have to say, they don't drive amazing. They're really rattly, don't steer very well, they don't stop very well, and they don't go very well. Whereas Falcons and Commodores, they just feel more put together. Although they're still built like shit, they feel sturdier, they feel more planted on the road. Especially AUs, they feel really good. And even this thing feels really good on the road. It's comfortable when you want it to be, but if you want to chuck it into a corner, they have double wishbone suspension and it feels really good to turn in. Not to mention the fact that you can put a lock kit on them very easily, and you don't need to buy an S13 front end for them like R31s, which once again, if we're talking about budget, that's just extra money you don't need to spend. Another really important thing when it comes to owning these sorts of cars are the communities that surround them. I'm obviously a part of Nissan S-Chassis Facebook groups and stuff like that, as well as E-Series and AU Facebook groups. And I have to say that Japanese owners, they have a bit of a chip on their shoulder there. They have a bit of a superiority complex because they reckon that these cars are like top shit. I know I'm gonna upset a lot of people by saying that. I own one of these cars and I think that the community around these cars are a lot better. Whenever you make a post in the AU group or the E-Series group, everyone is really quick to support you. When I've made posts about my Sylvia in the past, like, I'm gonna generalize here, but it's just full of a bunch of tosses. Like, I'm not gonna even lie. You're asking a genuine question and they just take the piss, and it's not fun. Like, you just want a quick answer, you want some help. In my experience, being in ADM Facebook groups are much better. Thank you guys so much for watching. There will be another video out on the EF later this week, so stay tuned, and if you're feeling generous, go buy some stickers, support the build, and I'll see you in the next one.